Welcome back to Spartan Up Podcast. I'm Dr. Johnny Waite. We have Dave DeLuca. We have Sephra. We've got Joe. We've got Marion behind the camera running the whole show. And speaking of running the whole show, Alan Jope, Unilever. Joe, you had a great interview with him.
How awesome was it we were able to get to basically the head of Unilever globally, consumer brands, all those brands that he's managing, and really get an insight into how to run a company that size and what it takes. We are here for Spartan Up the Podcast in Singapore with Alan Jope from Unilever, who's about to head out. You're about to head out on a pretty big motorcycle ride.
Yeah, it's what we do. There's 4 of us, and we, about every 6 months, do an adventure bike tour off-road, and we're linking them together to ultimately go around the world.
How far have you gone so far?
So far we've done, we went across the Sahara Desert in Northwest Africa, we went around the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, we've been up Southwest Africa and Namibia, and this latest thing started in Anchorage, and we rode round from Anchorage to Vancouver. So we kind of piecing it all together now. Oh, we also did Patagonia, the new Dakar route.
So you're not going in order?
Well, we are now.
What's coming out of it? Like you're getting to see parts of the world you'd otherwise never see?
Uncharted parts of the world. So because we're on dirt the whole time, you're really away from civilization. I think the biggest thing that comes out of it is the friendship with the guys.
Yeah, you go through, I'm sure you see tough times, right? There's wheels that break and things that go wrong.
Yeah, in fact that's what makes it interesting. We've had terrible trouble with tyres in Africa. We met up with a guy in the Andes who unfortunately came off and broke his back, so he's in a wheelchair now. Wow. I came off, broke my wrist and my shoulder in Mongolia, so yeah, we've had our fair share of hiccups.
What the whole podcast is about success and people that are driven and motivated, wake up early and just want to get stuff done. Clearly you're getting stuff done in professional life, and then you've decided to ride a motorcycle around the world. Where's that come from?
Well, look, first of all, Joe, compared with some of the other speakers that you've spoken to, I feel very humble being interviewed for this. I think, when I was a kid, my parents impressed upon me that they didn't have much, and if I ever wanted to enjoy the good things in life, I better get off my backside and get on with it. So, the first, after the usual kid things like newspaper rounds, the first thing I did was drive a butcher's van, which teach you a bit of initiative. And then I've basically led a corporate life, so I've been with pretty much the same company since university, and so you wouldn't normally say that's been an exciting life, but we've had a chance to live in some cool places and enjoy the good things in life.
No, but many parents, I'm a parent, would say, hey kid, you've got to work hard, but it doesn't necessarily translate. Why do you think it worked for you?
I think we all have different motivations. In part, it's a fear of failure. I don't like failing. I don't like losing at football. I don't like when our market shares go down. And so I always tried to do the best I could at whether it was academics or sport or now in the work life. But nowadays, I'm strongly motivated by my family, making sure that we provide a good future for my family. And I can talk a bit about some of the more intrinsic motivations of the type of work that we do as well.
So fear of failure. I think my dad lost everything when we were young. He was doing really well, and then he just got over leveraged. 87 crash just crushed him. That was a good thing for me. It was a bad thing for him. Interesting parallel. My father lost his job when I was in first year of university, and he struggled like hell for the next 3 years. And so when I was at university, it was, I better get myself a job here because no one else is going to look after me. Because maybe it felt like a safety net before he lost his job?
Possibly, although, you, I know, are driven in everything that you do. And I was at a little bit that streak, particularly noticeable as a school kid on the sports field, pushing hard on sports. But so I don't think it's just that. I think there's something a little bit deeper than that.
I interviewed a guy named Barry Hearns recently, a complete, in a good way, lunatic. And
And I asked him the question, and he came back and said, you know what, people that are not motivated should just go in the corner and die.
That's a fairly extreme view. Does he have kids?
He was a bit aggressive. But it is hard. It is hard to instill motivation. We have children.
Yeah.
How do you... We have it.
It's compounded by the fact that when you have kids, you want them to enjoy perhaps some of the things that you didn't have. So it's even more difficult because you're, on one hand, motivated to give your kids everything you can, as you're doing. But on the other hand, you want them to have some fire and hunger in their belly. And I think it's simple. You just have to teach kids nothing comes free. You got to earn it. You got to work for it. And I don't yet know if I've been successful. We'll see. I got 3 kids. They're incredibly different characters, but it's a paranoia for both of us on will they have the fire in their belly to get on with it.
You just don't know. On the way coming over to see you, I was thinking about a bird, a mother bird.
Yeah.
And she's sitting on the egg. And if she kept that bird in the nest, right, and just took care of it, it would be a different bird than just throwing it off the cliff. And I think it's not instinctual to throw them off the cliff, which is what you're saying.
Yeah. So I do think that university education is a terrific opportunity. It's a terrific stepping stone from the comfort of the home into the harsh reality of the real world.
Yep.
And so I'm keen that my kids, 2 of them are at university right now. The third one, he'll definitely make it. And that's where they learn all kinds of life skills, of which one of the most important is getting by on a budget.
Yeah. My mother, at 16, she locked the door. I would try to get in the house, the door was locked, and she's like, go figure it out on your own. So she literally pushed me. Well, but it's probably because I was just taking too much, right?
Yeah.
You got kids too, so...
I could imagine you'd be a demanding son, Joe.
I was demanding. Yeah. So what would you recommend for those folks that are out there that are looking for motivation, trying to figure out how to get motivated?
I get asked this in our company a lot. A lot of youngsters say, what advice have you got on kind of my career, etc. And frankly, I boiled it down to 3 things. I said, number 1, put your family first. It's incredible how many people make bad life choices for their career. You can always get another job. You can't always get another family. So that's I always say put your family first. Second thing, I've a rule I've followed, which has been important for my wife and I, is that where you are in the world is more important than what you're doing. So, when I'm on my deathbed, I think we'll remember living in Thailand, living in the US, living in here in Singapore, spending 5 years in China. Those will be memories that will be much more vivid than the particular work I was doing at that time. So put your family first. Think carefully about where you want to be, not just what you want to do. And the last is such a simple point, which is spend every waking moment trying to do the best job you can in the assignment you've been given, and don't worry about the future. If you do a great job doing what you're being paid to do, options will open up for your future that you never could have dreamed about.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. And in the neighborhood I grew up in, people were very, very particular about the work you did, brickwork, cement work, whatever.
Right.
And if anything was off, rip it out and do it again. So, but not everybody gets that experience.
I know that when you were running your pool business, you would do that little bit of extra that people didn't expect, and it would pay back in ways that you could never calculate. It was reputation, basically.
But that's not instinctual. Like I get a lot of young people today, I don't know if you do, in your line of work, that say, well, I'm not getting paid for that. Why would I do that?
That person wouldn't stay in my team very long.
Right.
It's you can tell the people who are just doing enough to get by, and they're not going to stick around.
So why don't we go do some burpees? We're about halfway through this thing. And have you done burpees before?
I have done burpees. I just can't wait to do burpees, Joe. Thank you.
We're going to do some burpees, and then I want to talk, we'll probably dive a little more into Unilever and give some folks some thoughts there.
Let's go.
I hope you're not sitting still while you listen. If you are, you better get a burpee break in.
300 burpees, very impressive.
That was great. That was exhausting, Joe, but thank you.
You're barely sweating.
Yeah.
I mean, most people do 300.
A little sweaty.
So 30 years at Unilever?
Yeah.
How do you stay motivated for that long? You talk to so many young people, they bounce from job to job. And that's something I want to talk about too. Is it better to stay at one place or bounce around?
Well, I think times are changing. More and more millennial kids are finding a career made up of lots of different employers, and I think that's just fine.
I think the reason I've stayed at Unilever initially was two things. One, we moved country every 4 or 5 years, and that felt like joining a new employer each time, and it was a great life adventure. And secondly, the values of the business. I would say there's fewer than the average number of assets for a big corporate environment. So we've got this culture where people are basically treated very well with decency, courtesy, respect.
If they're working on it.
Yeah, exactly. If they're delivering, of course. If you're not performing, you're out. And then more recently, we've been working to a slightly different corporate purpose. So we want to grow our business, but we want to do it in a way that reduces the environmental impact of our company. So things like our water impact, our waste impact, our greenhouse gas impact, but also do business in a way that gives back to the societies that we're doing business in. So for example, you might imagine a brand like Dove is just a bar of soap, or a brand like Lifebuoy is just a body wash. But actually, what Dove's purpose is to help women build their self-esteem. And so the Dove Self-Esteem Program is changing young girls' lives for the better. Lifebuoy's purpose is to save the lives of kids under the age of 5 who are dying in the underdeveloped parts of the world of totally preventable diseases like diarrhea, malnutrition. Just the simple act of hand washing cuts the number of infant deaths before the age of 5 in half. And as we put this purpose into our business and our brands, what we're finding is those brands are performing better. But interestingly, we become a magnet for millennial talent. So the kids these days don't want to work for a faceless corporation. They want to feel that their work has meaning. And they want to work for companies that are trying to do things the right way. And so as an accidental byproduct of trying to run our business the right way, we've found that the next generation of the workforce are keen to join Unilever.
Yeah, it's funny. I recently talked to someone at Tesla.
Yep.
And he happened to be in the military. He was shot. So he saw live gunfire. He had some rough times. And he said, I got to tell you, the pace at Tesla is worse than battle, in a good way. And I said, how is that? How does a company do that? And he said, mission and purpose.
Yeah.
And so I think you nailed it.
Well, you can't run large, complex organizations, whether it's a military or a corporation or an NGO. Command and control doesn't work. So you need purpose and freedom for people to deliver.
So 100 brands, 200 brands, how big is Unilever?
So we got a couple of hundred brands. We got 170,000 people and turnover of about 50 billion euros. So it's a decent sized company.
Fairly easy to operate.
Yeah, it's only soap.
Every country?
Yeah, we're pretty much in every country. I think the only country that we're not in is North Korea. And you can find our brands in North Korea actually, but we don't have an operation there. We're back into Cuba, we're back into Myanmar, so pretty much every country in the world, yeah.
It's funny, I'm dying to do a race in North Korea. So
right.
maybe we can go together.
So I'm this close to organizing the first official pub soccer team tour to North Korea.
Wow.
It's doable.
So maybe we could throw some barbed wire in and some fire.
Yeah, sure. You do the burpees, I'll do the football.
So how do you juggle all that and life and a motorcycle trip around the world?
So look, just to be clear, I don't define myself by my work at all. How my family is doing is much more important. Enjoying adventure motorcycle trips, playing football, family vacations, those are equally as important and in many ways more so. And so there's a simple, it's the packing rule, right? You put the big things in first. Right. And so if you look at your calendar and wait and say, when's a good time to sneak off for 2 weeks of adventure bike riding, there's never a good time. So at the beginning of the year, you just lock those dates. I play football here in Singapore on a Friday night at 5:30, which of course is mid-morning in London. And if our CEO calls a meeting, I'll say, I'm sorry, I'm not available, I'm playing football.
Wow.
And it's just a question of priorities.
But you've probably had to make enormous sacrifices to get to a place where you could play football on Friday night. I mean, you couldn't always do that, not in the early days.
I beg to disagree. I reckon if you are fully committed to what you're doing, and everyone can see that and knows that, and part of that commitment is being balanced in your life. Certainly in our organization, we would absolutely accommodate somebody wanting to fit something else big into their life. These days, work is very virtual. You know, we don't all work in the office. Information technology really makes it possible to work from anywhere at any time. And so I think modern organizations are going to have to accept that, 9 till 5, that's ancient history.
Sure. But you're pretty switched on when you're on. I mean, people, you just use the word committed. I'm going to talk about that too. But if everybody sees that, I guess they make accommodations. You're right. I mean, I would accept people not being in the office if I know the work's getting done.
Right. And it's not inconveniencing their co-workers, and they're not taking advantage of your flexibility. I think if there's any sniff that someone's taking advantage of flexibility that an organization provides for them, that's the contract's broken.
Right. Let's talk about commitment versus just interest. I recently read something from Ken Blanchard that said he finally figured it out. There are people that are interested in certain parts of life, work, whatever it is, and that means when it's fun, they're in, and then there are people that are committed.
Yeah.
It's not always fun.
Yeah. That simple expression, if something's worth doing, it's worth doing well. I think in the people I like hanging out with, that permeates all aspects of what they do. So, if you're painting a wall, you do a good job. If you're trying to run a company, you do a good job. If you are raising your kids, you put everything into it, you try and do a good job. So if something's worth your time and attention, surely you should do it to the very best of your ability. And satisficing, I don't think doesn't have much place in the world.
I like that. We should probably do some more burpees.
I'm very happy to do some more burpees. Or do you want to kick a ball around?
We can kick a ball around. We can do what you like.
How about that?
Wow, that was an amazing guy. That was amazing. He's actually one of my favorite to talk to.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one a lot.
I mean, he's got a great personality, which to get to that level, you've got to have. And obviously an awesome house, great family. And he's got a great perspective. Yeah. Right? It comes back to that whole thing, mission and purpose. Yeah. We've talked about it a number of times on this podcast.
Two things that really came out to me with mission and purpose. I may have to come back to the second one because we'll probably go off on a tangent with the first one. But I really love the idea that he said, especially with a company that size trying to make the difference they're trying to make in the world, you can't go command and control anymore. You can't just hire people and tell them what to do. You need to enroll them in the purpose. And when he said that nowadays with millennials, the idea that they're taking each of their brands like Dove and Lifebuoy, and they're actually giving the brand a purpose to change the world, and that they're changing the world. B, their bottom line's better than it's ever been. And C, they're able to engage young talent because it's kids who don't just want to work for a paycheck. They want to be part of something big.
As a millennial.
As a token millennial.
Am I I think
I can't speak
just
for all.
I
can't speak for all millennials because we're all very special snowflakes. But it was interesting hearing that. I'm always interested by people talking about millennials because I'm incredibly self-centered. But it was interesting to hear that because it's true. I, as a millennial, I love to work in places where I feel like what I'm doing actually matters outside of money. So
triple bottom line type concept.
Yeah.
Awesome, because I wanted to talk to you and see if we could take your payback a little.
But don't worry, Joe's going to give it to the earth.
But the idea, the generation before me, and I'm much older than you, but where you go work for 30 years at Acme Company making widgets for a paycheck and a pension, that just isn't what matters anymore, is it?
Yeah, but your purpose was feeding your family, right?
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. But as you say, sort of. Now we want purpose beyond that, and it is a changing world. But the second part, and this is what I really loved about what he said, and Joe, I think that with the interviews that I enjoy the most are the ones where I say you get back in your heels a little bit.
Yeah.
When he was talking about that he doesn't define himself by his work, and that there are things to him more important than work. He said, like, every Friday I play soccer, and you said, well, yeah, but you've worked really hard and sacrificed a lot to be the guy who can play soccer on Fridays. He said, what do you mean? He said, we haven't always been able to. He went, yeah. And you said, no, but when you're starting out in a company, there's no way that you can go play soccer on Friday evenings. And he said, I'm going to respectfully argue with you that if you're the guy who shows up at work with more purpose and more commitment than anybody else and works so hard all day long, that when you say to the boss, and Fridays, by the way, don't call me because I play soccer, the boss is going to give you that. And you went, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I guess it depends what kind of time you put in throughout the rest of the week. That it's like teachers used to say, hey, sit up front, raise your hand a lot in the beginning of the semester, and then all of a sudden teacher leaves you alone.
That's right, because they know that kid's committed. Hey, I just want to talk about the other thing this guy is doing too. So his work is incredibly important, but as he said, he doesn't define himself by his work. He defines himself by what else he's doing in the world. And this bike trip, 10 years they're taking, doing a piece at a time. They will have adventure motorcycled around the entire globe.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
He just crashed, but he's fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, screwed up his. Well, you'll see an image of it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but it's an experience. Everybody's got to have those great experiences in life, and good for him.
Yeah.
That he's going out there and taking 2-3 weeks at a clip and doing something great like that.
Absolutely. Sephra, what do you think?
I just keep on thinking about his interested versus committed, because apparently I've been told that I'm interested in some things and not committed.
We said you're
my feelings are a little hurt. So I'm just no, but it is interesting. Like this business is actually a business my brother and I started, Mortar and Pistol, down in Miami, and there's a fun time when everything's like hot and flashy, new business. Oh, you're psyched about it, blah blah, and then you get into the trenches of it. And that's when the gut check, that's when it happens. It's and you're like, am I interested in this project, or am I seeing it through the commitment of the rain, the shale, the hail, the bug bite, whatever.
When we opened up, all these businesses in Vermont, the farm, the general store, the wedding business, etc., I mistakenly thought that we could just bring in young people that would be excited to run a farm or be excited to run a general store. And I also wanted to go one step further and take care of a lot of the bills to get them going, because I didn't have that when I was younger and starting a business. The mistake I made was that by doing that, you actually take away the commitment. If somebody doesn't have like a mortgage out, they're not sweating as you probably are with your brother down in Miami.
Literally.
Yeah, if you're not sweating and you haven't told everybody you're doing this and your neck isn't on the line, it's hard to be committed.
But that's exciting. I mean, it's an exciting thing that you can take your interest and you can commit to it. And
it sucks,
as Joe says, Joe, a piece of advice that you told me, which I think is really interesting, is people always leave their new venture, their new thing, just a little too soon, because they don't.
Yeah, the ones that quit. I mean, David, you went through it. We talked about it before. You never know, right? That's the whole delayed gratification thing. You never know. Gee, if I would have stayed in, would I have gotten it done? But I will tell you this: almost everybody that's gotten it done, whatever that thing is, will tell you, I was so close to quitting.
Yeah.
So.
Thinking about you with Spartan, and I can't remember if it was this interview or another one where you said you started out in life, I'm going to go make some money, I'm going to create some security for my family, and then you get that, and then you realize it's about more than that. It's about purpose. It's about changing the world. And I know Spartan is focused on getting people healthy, and now you've really started to focus on how do you bring that next generation to it and get the kids engaged and healthy and committed.
That's awesome.
With Unilever, my wife and I driving down here, we had a chance to stop at Ben & Jerry's. Ben & Jerry's, very socially conscious company, purchased by Unilever. And
really?
Yeah, but it was at a really interesting time where Ben & Jerry's fought it really hard at first because they wanted to keep their independent spirit. But Unilever convinced them that actually right now, that's what we're trying to shift to. We're trying to take this huge company and shift it over to more of a triple net bottom line, socially conscious enterprise, and we see synergy there. And it was really cool because they actually incorporated that into their tour about the idea that they know that people are like, are you kidding? This behemoth has taken this beautiful Vermont company. And but hearing Alan, it really made me get that Unilever actually has shifted, and there are companies that are shifting right now. And even Spartan Race, for example, I don't say even because it's always been your commitment, but it isn't just a putting more.
No, I think about that often. Spartan, we got lucky. We had a mission and purpose when we started. Yeah. But a lot of companies like a Unilever didn't. Yeah. Right? It was about the 1972 bottom line.
Yeah, and yet to reinvent yourself as a company that big and make it about mission and purpose is incredible. Yeah, absolutely. But I think way back in the podcast, back with Kodak, a company that didn't reinvent themselves, crashed and burned and has now had to do it the hard way. Maybe Unilever learned from that.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. Where are we going from here?
Well, let's go back to
Go play a game of soccer.
SpartanUpPodcast.com. You'll learn more about, and actually having referenced some of the old interviews, when you go to SpartanUpPodcast.com, we're a couple hundred interviews in now. There are some incredible interviews going back, so flip back through some of the old ones, see if there are ones maybe you missed before that are interesting. I mentioned Kodak, Richard Branson, Tim Ferriss. There's dozens and dozens
Kyle
of them.
Dake, Nate Carr.
Angela Duckworth, who has a bestseller right now called Grit.
Oh.
So yeah, it's just an absolute treasure trove. SpartanUpPodcast.com. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to another epic story of success.
We hope you enjoyed the episode. To find more show notes, audio, and video, please visit us at SpartanUpPodcast.com/099.
The Spartan Up Podcast is brought to you by Spartan.
To find a race near you, visit Spartan.com.